Every NFL team has played their first game of the 2025 season, and every year, like clockwork, there are countless overreactions. Whether it's that the Lions are going to fail without Ben Johnson, or that Caleb Williams is a bust, or that the Ravens are not going to be able to win the big game because they can't close big games, you get the point. And one of the best, or maybe worst, depending on if your favorite team lost in week 1, is the overreactions from the first 60 minutes of football. And especially when teams either confirm the preseason expectations they had, or like the Steelers, had Aaron Rodgers throw for 4 touchdowns in his Steelers debut, leading Pittsburgh fans to start to really buy into the 1 year for the rest of our lives belief. Now, as a preface for today's video, we're going to discuss several overreactions from week 1 and break them down and discuss each and every situation. One big thing to remember is that there is usually some truth within overreactions from the first week of the year, but that doesn't mean a team who lost in week 1 is done for the season by any means either. This was a very eventful and exciting week 1, and there is a lot to dive into in today's video, and without further ado, let's begin. And we are starting today's video with the overreaction that the AFC is a 2-team race. The Baltimore Ravens played the Buffalo Bills on Sunday night in week 1 in what was undoubtedly one of the best games we'll see all year. The final score was 41-40, and it was also a scoreagami, meaning that was the first time in NFL history a game ended with that exact score. Both teams had over 430 yards of offense, and there was a point in this game where I had the thought of, how is anybody going to beat the Ravens? The DeAndre Hopkins touchdown catch was awesome, and that made it 34-19, and when he made that play, it just seemed like there was no way the Bills could stop the Ravens. The Bills answered to make it 34-25, but failed on the 2-point conversion, and when the Ravens got the ball back, they had 3rd and 10, and Lamar Jackson at a point was over 20 yards behind the line of scrimmage, then turned the play into a gain of 19 yards. The immediate play after, Derrick Henry had a 46-yard rushing touchdown to make it 40-25, and at that point my jaw dropped, and again I basically said, how do you stop this team? Well, Buffalo didn't back down, and they eventually scored a touchdown to make it 40-32, and then King Henry fumbled, which gave Buffalo a chance to score again, and again they did to make it 40-38, and we know how this game ended, with a Matt Prater walk-off field goal. Now, in some ways, it definitely is an overreaction because it's only been one game, and teams that lost in week 1, like the Kansas City Chiefs, are banged up, and other teams that won in week 1, like the Denver Broncos, who are looking to take the next step this year, did not look great in week 1. But when Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen are on, like they were on Sunday Night Football in week 1, there's not many teams that are going to be able to beat the Ravens or Bills when it matters. And I know Ravens fans were understandably upset with how this game ended, and especially with the track record John Harbaugh has over the past few years, and I know every Ravens fan wanted them to go for it on 4th down, but John Harbaugh didn't fumble the football to lead up to that. He wasn't getting burnt in coverage every play leading up to that, and while it is an unfortunate loss, I don't know how you could come away from this game and think that the Ravens aren't legitimate Super Bowl contenders, even though they blew a 15-point lead and had a 99% probability chance to win this game. The biggest justification for this take, that the AFC is going to come down to Baltimore and Buffalo, is these teams put up points in bunches, and I would argue a lot of the game felt like the Bills couldn't hang with the Ravens. And I know Bills fans definitely felt this way to a degree, as the Ravens had 5 65-plus yard touchdown drives in this game alone. And if you were wondering, Buffalo had 4 50-plus yard touchdown drives themselves. Obviously, in a do-or-die playoff format, it takes Josh Allen or Lamar to have one bad game or to have the worst game of their career when it matters, and for them to have 3 plays go wrong and to accidentally throw 3 interceptions in a playoff game, and in theory that can happen, but when these teams are on like they were in week 1, how many teams in the AFC are you taking over them? And even the big bad Kansas City Chiefs would have their hands full, especially with their own offensive problems at the moment. So in some ways, saying the AFC is a 2-team race is an overreaction from week 1, but deep down when you think about it, there is a legitimate case to be made. But before we continue, if you're looking for a premium mattress designed to help improve your sleep, your quality of life, and is conveniently shipped to your front door for free within the United States, look no further than today's sponsor, Bear Mattress. Make sure to head to bearmattress.com/analysis to get 40% off your mattress. Bear is a premium fiberglass-free mattress designed to upgrade your sleep quality and is also conveniently shipped to your door for free in the United States. Bear Mattress has been a great company to work with, and I'll be honest, there was a part of me that was nervous about the idea of a mattress showing up on my front doorstep without ever testing the mattress in store and basically saying, hey, go ahead and try this out and let us know how it goes. But there's a couple of reasons as to why I really like working with Bear and why I can't recommend Bear enough. The first is the sleep quiz, which I took online, and I myself am a side sleeper and I also sleep cool, so they matched me up with my appropriate mattress and they would do the same for you. And not only that, but there's also financing and payment plans and flexible options for payments with Bear Mattress, and they also give you a 120-night sleep trial. So if you were to order your mattress today, you would have until after New Year's to be able to make that decision on whether or not you want to keep your Bear Mattress long term. I myself and Meadow both love our Bear Mattress. We use or sleep on the Bear Mattress every night, and I could not recommend Bear Mattress enough. Now, we did mention the sleep quiz, and like I said, I myself am a side sleeper. I know some people prefer to sleep on their backs, or some people prefer to sleep on their stomachs, but they matched me up with the Elite Hybrid Medium Mattress, and whether you believe myself or Meadow, who is generally in the 16 to 17 hour a day sleeping range, a lot of that on the said Bear Mattress, and she's a very satisfied Bear Mattress customer, by the way, because she is a well-rested girl when it comes to the zoomies and going on walks and playing ball and all sorts of things that, 2-year-old pups like to do. Well, Bear recently ran a survey in over 300 recent customers where 82% said they saw an increase in quality of sleep with their new Bear Mattress, which is why 95% of those customers said they would recommend Bear Mattress to a friend. I love my Bear Mattress and think you would too, and right now you can head to bearmattress.com/analysis and use code analysis to get 40% off, and that's better than what is currently being offered on Bear's website. So once again, that's bearmattress.com/analysis using code analysis to get 40% off, and a big thank you to Bear Mattress for sponsoring today's video. The next overreaction comes from the NFC North, where the Minnesota Vikings came back from down double digits in the fourth quarter, and JJ McCarthy became the second quarterback to lead his team from down 10-plus points in his NFL debut and win. The other was a player you may have heard of by the name of Steve Young. So with JJ McCarthy being in that company, and with his winning record given back to IMG Academy and then at the University of Michigan, well, I think it's pretty logical that the Vikings are going to win the Super Bowl this year. It's just a fact. I mean, it's not really an overreaction, it's more of a fact. But anyway, jokes aside, the next overreaction does come from the NFC North, and I don't know if you could consider this an overreaction, but the Green Bay Packers are legitimate Super Bowl contenders. They held the Lions to 13 points, and while the Lions did have significant changes this offseason, as Ben Johnson, the previous offensive coordinator, is now the Chicago Bears head coach, they also had center Frank Ragnow retire, and right guard Kevin Zeitler leave in free agency. This is still a very, very good football team. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs is one of the best running backs in the league. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a really good receiver. Jamison Williams just signed a 3-year, $83 million contract extension. And the point is this is one of the most complete offenses you're going to find in the NFL. And by the way, I didn't mention Penei Sewell and Sam Laporta either. So for Green Bay to hold this team to 6 points for the first 58 minutes of the game, and then for Isaac Tesla to score a touchdown in the final minute, that was how the Lions scored 13 points rather than 6, speaks volumes about where their defense is in 2025. And that was with Micah Parsons in a relatively limited role in his Packers debut. The Green Bay Packers defense is going to be a problem all throughout 2025 because now they have legitimate playmakers at all three levels of the defense. Micah Parsons is, of course, Micah Parsons. He's a Hall of Fame talent. He's one of the best in the NFL at what he does, and one of my biggest concerns with the Packers heading into the 2025 season, obviously before the Micah Parsons trade, was that they did not have a legit Tier 1 pass rusher to be able to get home and get after the quarterback, and you saw that last year whenever the Lions played them, and at times whenever the Vikings played them, that both Sam Darnold and Jared Goff were able to camp out in the pocket because Rashawn Gary and Lucas Van Ness couldn't get home to the level that somebody like Micah Parsons can. And now that they have both Micah Parsons and Rashawn Gary on the defense and on the field at the same time, you're going to see the best of each player. They have one of my favorite players in the entire NFL at the second level in Edge Cooper, who I do believe is a budding superstar. And there's plays Edge Cooper makes in the run game that are Pro Bowl caliber plays, and he's going to be a player that should be here for a long time. And he is a guy that, if you've ever heard the cliche term, he's all over the field, Edge Cooper is all over the field. And having a defense with Micah Parsons, Edge Cooper, and Xavier McKinney in the secondary, and even Evan Williams as well, who by every definition deserves his flowers too, this is a problem, especially with a defense that is coached by Jeff Hafley. And by the way, I think there's a lot of people that have a lot of loud opinions on Jordan Love, but I think Jordan Love is a really good quarterback, and I really didn't like how people spoke definitively about Jordan Love after the 2024 season, especially for a player that I thought was not 100% for the majority of the season, really outside of the first 3.5 quarters of the Eagles game back all the way in week 1 of last year. And I think he's going to show that he's a really good quarterback in 2025. And the Packers offense in week 1 against the Lions put up 27 points. And obviously that's a good outing. You win by double digits against a division rival, but I don't want this to be taken the wrong way. But Packers fans, you guys also know this. The offense didn't maximize what they could do, and they still won by 14 points. And you could honestly make the argument they won by 21 points, obviously with that said garbage time touchdown, but they won by 14 points against a team that had 15 wins last year. And you can legitimately make the case that the offense not underperformed because they did what they had to do, but they certainly didn't maximize what they could do against the Lions. And if we are starting to just see the scrape of what this team can do, there is no doubt in my mind that the Green Bay Packers are, by every definition, a Super Bowl contender. The next overreaction from week 1 is that the Kansas City Chiefs' run is over / they're no longer the top dogs. And I want to preface this with, it would be ridiculous to say the Chiefs have zero shot at getting back to the Super Bowl or that they're done after a single game, because they're not done. But the week 1 game in Sao Paulo was tough for the Chiefs for a few reasons. The defense looked bad, and I don't think Chiefs fans would disagree. Justin Herbert threw for over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, and the Chargers put up 27 points. They also averaged over 49 yards per drive, which after 1 week has the Chiefs defense 29th in the NFL. Now, one of the biggest reasons the Chiefs were so successful in 2022 and 2023 was due to how well they drafted, and the Chiefs' 2022 draft class is one of the best so far in the 2020s decade. Trent McDuffie, George Karlaftis, Brian Cook, Leo Chenal, and Isaiah Pacheco was an insane haul for a team that was coming off of their 4th straight trip to at least the AFC Championship at that point in time. But the past few drafts have not been kind to the Kansas City Chiefs. 2023 first-round pick Felix and Adike Uzama is on season-ending IR, and he wasn't good in the first years of his career either. Receiver Rashee Rice is a good second-round pick, and he certainly will help the Chiefs when he comes back from suspension. And that was ahead of a draft pick for Brett Veach and company. But third-round pick Wanye Morris was benched last year, and they replaced him with Josh Simmons, a first-round pick from this year, who I do believe will be good in the long run. They also drafted nickel corner Chamari Connor in that draft, and the point is, the Chiefs walked out of the 2023 draft with Rashee Rice and Chamari Connor. And as of now, it looks like the Chiefs' 2024 class is going to consist of 2 players as well, and that's receiver Xavier Worthy and offensive lineman Kingsley Suamataia. And again, what has to be noted with the Chiefs within this loss to the Chargers was obviously not having Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy for pretty much the entire game. But where I worry with the Chiefs, and what I think is a completely valid concern to have after week 1, is the run game. Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt are not an explosive duo, and they combined for 10 carries for 41 yards in this game. Patrick Mahomes had more than double the rushing yards Isaiah Pacheco had, and you're not going to win many games where you have to play the way Mahomes did in week 1, at least not getting back to the Super Bowl like the Chiefs have over the past 3 years. And over the last few years, the Chiefs haven't been as explosive of an offense, and that's not a shot or a dig at the Chiefs as much as it's an observation, but you did see Mahomes play more like the 2019 or 2020 version of Patrick Mahomes rather than the 2024 version in the season opener against the Chargers, and it was because he had to, and for what it's worth, I thought he played a pretty good game against the Chargers. But I also think there is a valid concern to have with the pass rush, as it's going to require a rookie Omar Norman-Lott to step up and play big, meaningful snaps when the time comes. And by the way, within the Chargers game specifically, Drew Tranquill played a hell of a game, so credit where it's due. But my biggest concern with the Chiefs is being able to consistently run the football and being able to consistently get home and get after the quarterback, especially with Chris Jones now at 31 years old. The concerns are valid with the Chiefs 1 game in, and the Chiefs have the Eagles in week 2, who are going to be a tough matchup for them, and they also have the Ravens in week 4, who will be another tough matchup for them. And it certainly doesn't help that Rashee Rice is going to be suspended for both games in the middle of this gauntlet, and there is a real scenario where the Chiefs start the year with a 1-3 record. The next overreaction from week 1 is that the Bears, whether they're coached by Matt Eberflus, Matt Nagy, Mark Trestman, or Ben Johnson, are the same old Bears. Now, I will be honest, I do believe in the Bears long term, but this was a tough game for Bears fans because Caleb Williams, fair or not, is going to receive a lot of criticism, especially with who he is as a player. He was a really hyped up draft prospect coming out of USC, and whenever you are a Caleb Williams or a Trevor Lawrence, as hyped up as you are coming out in the draft process, expectations are naturally going to be be high. And Caleb Williams started this game 10 for 10. We were live on stream for this game. Appreciate everyone who came out. And I was very worried that we were going to have to deal with, as a Vikings fan, for Caleb Williams for not just 2 or 3 years, given how young he is, but for the next 6, 7, 8, 10 years, and that this guy was going to be a thorn in my side now that he has Ben Johnson and a competent play caller along with him, and along with all of the improvements the Bears made this offseason. Whether it was Joe Thuney, Drew Dahlman, Jonah Jackson, or Luther Burden and Colston Loveland in the NFL draft, the Bears were a problem heading into week 1 of Monday night, especially with a new head coach who could dial up any wrinkle to any play that he wanted in Ben Johnson. But after Caleb Williams started out 10 for 10, he finished the game 11 for 25. And there's a stat on Next Gen Stats called expected completion percentage. And obviously, if you complete more passes than you're expected to, the better. Generally, that means you are throwing balls into tighter windows, or receivers are making good plays. And that means as a quarterback, you are putting balls in situations to be caught. But what this meant for Caleb, as he finished the expected completion percentage with a minus 13.2%, was he was missing easy throws, and the tape unfortunately backed it up. And I went back and rewatched the tape, and there were throws that, forget a number 1 overall pick making them. There should have been Division 2 or Division 3 quarterbacks making throws out to the flat that Caleb was routinely missing. There were several misses within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage that Caleb Williams missed in week 1. However, positively, I will say there were multiple times on tape within the same game where Caleb was making high-level plays, and there was a specific play to Rome Odunze in the 4th quarter where he manipulated the coverage with his eyes to the left, came back and threw an absolute fastball to Rome Odunze, and that was a hell of a play. So while Caleb Williams did struggle at times in week 1 after starting out 10 for 10, I am not fully out on him after 1 week into his second season, and there is still legitimate reason to buy in, but the Bears should have started the 2025 season off on the right foot. And there was a point in this game where the Bears had well over 120 yards more than the Vikings, and they should have put them away when they had the chance. And whenever you let a team like the Vikings hang around, who find ways to win more often than not, as they are now 35-17 under head coach Kevin O'Connell, guess what? If you let them hang around and play with fire, they're going to win. There was a graphic at one point in the 4th quarter where the Vikings had something along the lines of 150 total yards in the 4th quarter to the Bears' -1. And while I do like Ben Johnson as a play caller, there was a couple of questionable decisions that he made within the week 1 game alone. He probably should have taken the field goal early in the first half to make it a 10-3 game. He definitely should have told Cairo Santos to kick the ball out of bounds, and I would certainly place some of that blame on Ben Johnson for not knowing that his kicker couldn't kick the ball out of the back of the end zone, because it came out after the game that Ben told him to kick the ball out of the end zone.
Were you hoping that kick was going to go out of the end zone?
Yeah, the intent was for the ball to go out of the end zone.
And as we know, Ty Chandler returned the football out of the end zone, and it cost the Bears what is effectively a timeout with the 2-minute warning. There was a lot within the game where I know people want to place the game on Caleb Williams in a lot of ways for missing throws and for finishing the game for 11 for 25 after starting out 10 for 10. And Caleb Williams absolutely has his faults, and he certainly didn't play a perfect game, but there's also fault within the coaching staff and within the clock management decisions that Ben Johnson in some ways blew it for the Bears as well. So in some ways, they are the same old Bears, and that is an overreaction from week 1. And while I don't think the Bears are going to win the Super Bowl this year, I never thought they were going to win the Super Bowl, you certainly would have liked to have seen, with all of the preseason hype that they had under Ben Johnson, that this was going to be a new regime, that this was going to be a new leadership, and that we're not rolling into the year with Matt Nagy or Matt Eberflus, two guys who are not highly sought after in the coaching process, like a Ben Johnson was, that the Bears started off by blowing a double-digit lead to a division rival quarterback in his first career NFL game. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please like the video and subscribe to the channel, as we are approaching 210,000 subscribers, and I cannot thank you guys enough for the support. Thank you to Mattress for sponsoring today's video, and until next time, please be safe and have a great day. Love you guys.